Hello, my name is Michelle. I'm 47 years old, March 2025, Middleton, Ohio. A bullet met through a child found me instead. And in that moment between life and death, I discovered something about America that changed everything I thought I knew. What Jesus showed me in those final seconds isn't just my story, it's ours. Do you know what it's like to wake up every day feeling like you have a weight on your shoulders that you can't quite put your finger on? That weight had been there for years for me, and it had gotten heavier since my divorce 4 years ago. For 15 years, I taught art at a local high school in Ohio. I loved helping kids find their voice through paint and clay. My classroom was my safe place. The walls were covered in colorful student drawings, and the half-finished canvases smelled like acrylic and hope. I loved seeing shy kids like Emma, a quiet 16-year-old who was good at watercolor, light up when they realized their art could say what their words couldn't. But life felt like it was falling apart outside of that room. Have you ever felt like your family is more like strangers? Mark, my ex-husband, left after I lost our second baby. It was a miscarriage that broke something in me. He said I was obsessed with my students and couldn't get over the loss. He could have been right. I lived in a small house on Elm Street surrounded by student art, but it was so quiet that it hurt. I would look at my phone and hope that Tyler would call. He was 22 and in the military, and we only talked through short texts. He probably thought I had pulled away from him after the miscarriage and put all my love into my classroom instead. I tried to get in touch, but my messages came out wrong, like I was trying to paint a picture with a broken brush. Then there was Rachel, my sister. We used to be friends and share coffee and laughs. But after a shooting threat at my school last year, thank God it never happened, she called my call for stricter safety measures hysterical. We fought about gun rights a lot, and it made us not get along. I would sometimes drive by her house and want to knock, but I would just keep going because I felt like I had lost her too. And my mom, my mom. She is now in assisted living because her dementia is so bad that she doesn't know me anymore. I would bring her sunflowers, which she loved, and she would smile politely as if I were a nice stranger. Every time I went, I felt more empty and worried that I was losing everyone I cared about. Teaching kept me going, but it was hard work. I had fought for mental health programs at school because I saw kids like Emma who were anxious or angry. But the administration always told Michelle, no budget. I would go home, drink chamomile tea, and draw in my journal to try to get rid of the fear that my school wasn't safe. Have you ever felt like you were trying to stop a storm with just your hands? That was me, worrying about my students and the possibility of another threat coming true. I wondered if anything I did mattered in a world that seemed so broken and angry. I think everyone has felt that pain of not knowing if they are good enough. I would stand in front of the mirror and brush my brown hair, which was starting to gray, and ask myself if I was failing as a mother, sister, daughter, or teacher. I would look at my students' drawings and see bright, hopeful ones next to dark, angry ones. It felt like I was losing the battle to keep hope alive. Sometimes late at night, I would pray and ask God if He saw me and if He cared about my small classroom in Middleton. I wanted to believe that my work was making a difference, but doubt crept in like shadows at dusk. One memory stays with me. I saw Emma crying in the art room after school last spring. She painted a stormy sea with dark blues and jagged waves and said it was how she felt inside. I sat with her and didn't say much. I just listened as she talked about how she felt like no one could see her at home. I said to her, Emma, your art makes you seen. Keep on painting. I felt like I had done something right when she hugged me. But then I would go home to my empty house and wonder who was there for me when I felt like no one could see me. You know how life can feel like a puzzle with missing pieces? I kept trying to put the pieces together. My love of teaching, my broken family, and my fear of a world that was getting colder. I'd walk my dog, Rusty, around the block and wave to my neighbors. But I didn't feel like anyone really knew me. I saw kids on their phones, parents fighting at school board meetings, and news about yet another shooting somewhere else. I started to wonder if hope was just a childish dream I was holding on to. That Tuesday morning in March began like any other day. I was in my classroom getting ready for the first period. I was humming an old hymn my mom used to sing and putting paintbrushes in order. The bell rang and the hallway was full of the usual noise. Kids laughing and lockers slamming. I was putting up a new student's drawing on the wall when I heard the first pop. I thought it was a firecracker at first, but then there was another one, and then there were screams. My heart sank. Do you ever have a moment when time seems to stop and you know that everything is about to change? That was it. I didn't think about myself. I thought about my kids and how to keep them safe. I was standing in the doorway of my classroom and the screams echoed down the hall. I didn't think. I just did it. Get in there right now, I yelled at my students and pushed them toward the desks. I grabbed chairs to block the door, but my hands were shaking so much that I could barely hold them. The pops kept coming, getting closer and sharper as if the world were breaking apart. Then I heard a small, scared sob from the hallway. I looked out and saw Emma, my quiet watercolor girl, frozen against a locker with her eyes wide open in fear. I didn't think twice. I ran to her and pulled her toward the classroom. My sneakers squeaked on the tile. "Come on, Emma, you're safe with me," I whispered as I put my arm around her. That's when I saw the shooter, a young man with a gun raised and a face twisted in anger. Time moved slowly, like in a dream where you can't run fast enough. I pushed Emma behind me and used my body to protect her. The shots were loud and final, and pain shot through my chest and back like fire. I fell, and Emma's screams got quieter as the world got blurry. I remember saying, "God, please keep them safe." Then it got dark. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to die? At first, I was so scared that my mind was racing with all the things I hadn't done, like hugging Tyler one more time, telling Rachel I was sorry, and sitting with Mom and holding her hand. It felt like my chest was being crushed, and I couldn't breathe. I said to myself, "This is it." I let them all down, but then things changed. The pain didn't go away, but a warmth began to spread, as if someone had put a soft blanket around my heart. The fear went away, and I felt calm, like getting into a warm bath after a long, cold day. I was done fighting. I let go. Out of nowhere, I was floating. I looked down and saw myself on the floor with blood all around me. Emma was crying over me, and her hands were shaking as she pressed them against my chest. There were paramedics rushing in and yelling, but I wasn't scared for myself anymore. I felt light, like I had taken off a heavy coat that had been weighing me down my whole life. I could still hear the noise, sirens, screams, and footsteps, but it was far away, like a radio in another room. I looked at my hands, expecting to see them, but they were more like a shimmer with a faint glow. It was so strange and so beautiful, like I was made of light. The school got smaller as I went up. I could see Middleton, Ohio, spread out like a patchwork quilt. Elm Street, my little house with Rusty's dog bed on the porch, and the diner where I would get coffee. But it wasn't only buildings. I could feel the hearts down there. Kids scared in classrooms, parents rushing to the school, and neighbors praying. I could feel their fear, love, and hope all at once. You know that feeling when you see a sunset that makes your heart hurt? It was like that, but bigger, like I was seeing the soul of the world. Then I felt a pull, not too strong, but strong enough to move me. The world below faded away, and I was going through a tunnel of soft, golden light. It wasn't too bright. It was warm, like the sun on your face in the spring. I heard sounds that weren't music, but they sounded like voices singing in perfect harmony and wrapping around me like a hug. I could smell something sweet, like the flowers my mom used to pick when I was a kid. I wasn't afraid anymore. It felt like I was going home to a place I had forgotten I belonged. The tunnel opened, and I stepped onto something that felt like clouds. It was soft under my feet, but strong enough to hold me. I could see America below me, not just a map, but a real place that was alive. Small towns with white church steeples, cities with skyscrapers glowing in the dusk, schools with kids playing in the yards, and rural fields that went on and on under a sky that twinkled with stars. The ground was clear, like glass, and I could see into millions of people's hearts, which were flickering like tiny flames all over the country. Some were bright with love, while others were dim with pain or anger. There were red, white, and blue colors in the sky that looked like they were moving, like they were alive. They were carried by a wind that I couldn't feel but knew was holy. I stood there, taking it all in, and my heart swelled with amazement. My empty house and broken family weren't on my mind anymore. I felt free, as if I had left all my worries behind. Then I could feel him. Before I saw him, I felt a warmth, like someone had opened their arms to me without saying anything. I turned around and saw Jesus. He wore simple white robes that glowed softly, like they held the light of every sunrise. His hands sparkled with a love that was so strong it hurt to look at them. His eyes, oh, his eyes, they were deep and kind, like they could see every tear I had ever shed and every doubt I had ever had, and still loved me. He didn't look like the pictures in church. He looked like a teacher, a healer, and someone who knew me better than I did. "Michelle, my loyal servant," he said. His voice was soft but so clear that it filled me up. "You died to protect my children." His words hit me like a wave, and I started to cry. Not sad tears, but the kind of tears you cry when you realize someone really sees you for the first time. I fell to my knees and cried, not because I was ashamed, but because his love was so big and perfect that it broke down all the walls I had built around my heart. You know how it feels when you're so tired of holding it together and someone lets you fall apart? That was Jesus. I didn't have to talk about my pain, my loneliness, or my fear that I wasn't good enough. He already knew. I reached out and he took my hand. His touch was warm and steady. "Come," he said, "and let me show you something you could never see from your classroom." I felt safe, like a child in her mother's lap, like nothing could ever hurt me again. I didn't want to leave him, but I knew that whatever he wanted to show me was important. I was still excited about everything, but I was ready to follow him and see what he wanted me to know. I held Jesus' hand and felt his warmth flow through me like a river of light. The towns and cities of America were glowing below us, and the stars seemed to sing in the sky. I could still see those flickering hearts, some bright, some dim, all part of a country I only knew through my little classroom in Middleton, Ohio. I felt at home, but I also felt small, like a kid who had gone too far and needed someone to show her the way. When Jesus looked into my eyes, I saw love so deep that it hurt my heart, but I also saw sadness that seemed to carry the weight of every hurting soul below. "Michelle," he said, his voice soft like a breeze but strong enough to hold me together. "You've been through so much pain, your own, your students, and your families. Let me show you what's hurting America and how my love can make it better." I nodded, my cheeks still wet with tears, not wanting to let go of his hand. You know that feeling when someone sees parts of you that you've kept secret for a long time? That was Jesus, looking right into my loneliness, my doubts, and my fear that I wasn't good enough. When he waved his hand, the scenery changed. All of a sudden, I was looking at the shooter from that day, the young man who had killed me. His face looked young, maybe 19, but his eyes were empty, like windows to an empty house. I saw bits and pieces of his life. A boy eating lunch by himself, kids laughing as they pushed him down, mean words typed on a screen, a dad yelling and a mom too tired to notice. His heart flickered below, so dim it was almost gone. It was full of rage that had built up over years of being rejected. I wanted to look away, but Jesus held my hand tight. He said, "This is where it starts, Michelle. A heart that doesn't feel love turns to hate, and hate that isn't healed turns into violence." I started crying again, not just for him, but also for all the times I had felt invisible. I said, "I tried to help kids like him," and my voice shook. I tried to make them feel like they were important in my class, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. Jesus tilted his head, and his eyes were so kind that I could hardly stand it. "Michelle, you showed them my love by taking care of them. You planted a seed every time you sat with Emma or hung a drawing on your wall. But the darkness in this country is bigger than just one teacher or school. It's a sickness of not being able to forgive." He pointed again, and I saw millions of hearts flickering through the clear ground all over America. I saw parents yelling at each other about politics while their kids watched and learned to hate the other side. I saw students typing mean things online, just like adults do when they're angry. I saw neighbors not talking to each other, churches preaching judgment instead of grace, and families breaking up because no one would say, "I'm sorry." It was like a shadow spreading, making the hearts of those people dimmer one by one. "Look closer," Jesus said in a voice that was heavy but soft. "Unforgiveness is the cause." It starts in homes where parents don't forgive each other. It gets into schools where kids learn to hate because no one teaches them how to forgive. It becomes communities that choose revenge over making up. Some people turn to violence when their hearts harden. I thought about my own life, like how I had let the fight with Rachel over guns get worse. I thought of Mark and how I had never forgiven him for leaving after the miscarriage. I thought about Tyler and how I had pushed him away because I was too scared to deal with my own grief. "I've been a part of it," I said quietly, my heart sinking. I didn't forgive them. I kept my pain. When Jesus put his hand on my shoulder, I felt a wave of peace wash over me. He said, "Michelle, you're not alone. Everyone has kept their pain, but my love is stronger than that hurt. I made every heart free, able to forgive and able to love again. I am calling them back, even though America has forgotten this." He showed me more, times when hope broke through the darkness. I saw a mother in court who had lost her son in a shooting. She told the shooter, "I forgive you because God forgave me." Her heart shone like a beacon. I saw a school where kids formed a club to stop bullying by choosing kindness over cruelty. I saw a church open its doors to people they had once judged and give them food and hugs instead of preaching. Every time I forgave someone, it was like a spark that pushed the shadow away. Jesus said, "This is my plan," and his eyes shone. I never stop reaching for my children, even when they turn away. I give them chances to choose love and stop the cycle of hate. Every heart that forgives shines a light on others. It felt like something inside me changed, like a knot was coming undone. You know that feeling when you realize you don't have to carry the pain anymore? I could see my own heart below, and it got brighter as Jesus spoke. He said, "You've always wanted to make a difference, Michelle. You thought it was about making the world a better place and keeping your students safe. But it's more than that. It's about teaching them how to love and forgive. That's how you fix a classroom, a family, and a country." I thought of Emma and her painting of a stormy sea and how she had felt like no one could see her. I thought of my mom, who didn't know who I was but still smiled at my sunflowers. I thought about Tyler, who was far away, and Rachel, who was close but still far away. "I want to make things better," I said, my voice breaking. "I want to love them more and forgive them. But I have made so many mistakes." When Jesus smiled, it was like the whole sky lit up. "Michelle, my love covers up all your mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to choose to forgive over and over again. That's how you'll show them I'm always with them." I fell to my knees again, feeling too much. His love was like a fire that burned away my guilt, fear, and loneliness. I could see myself clearly, not as a failure, but as someone he had chosen to love and use. "Why me?" I asked. "All I do is teach. I don't have the strength for this." He knelt next to me, and his robes brushed against the ground like clouds. He said, "You're strong because I'm with you. You died for Emma, just like I died for you. That's the kind of love that changes everything. Michelle, I'm asking you to go back and tell them what you saw. America's kids are hurting because they've learned to hate from a world that has forgotten me. Give them a second chance. Show them my love." I shook my head, and tears streamed down. I said, "I don't want to leave you. It's safe here. This place makes me feel whole. It felt like too much to think about going back to my empty house, my broken family, and the fear of another shooting. But Jesus' eyes were on mine, and I could see both his love and his need. "Michelle," he said, his voice like a father's voice to a scared child, "you won't go alone. I'll be there for you every step of the way and every word. Your students, your son, and even the kids who hurt others need to see my light through you. Tell them that the hate stops when the violence stops, and the hate stops when they forgive. Michelle, you're not just a teacher. You are my messenger." I looked down at the landscape and saw all those hearts, some of which were so dim that they were almost gone. I thought about the shooter and how his pain turned into rage. I thought about my students who were carrying pain that I couldn't always see. I thought about Tyler, Rachel, and my mom, as well as all the people I had pushed away because I couldn't forgive them. Jesus' words went deep, like paint soaking into a canvas. I wanted to stay with him forever, where there was no pain or fear. But I also felt a pull, like a voice that told me to do something. "Will it matter?" I asked, my voice low. "Am I really able to help them?" He smiled again, and it felt like hope was all around me. "Michelle, every time you forgive someone, you win. My love pushes back the darkness in every heart you touch. You will show them that I love them and want them to forgive. One heart at a time, you'll be my hands, painting a new picture for America." His words gave me strength, like a light I could take with me. I nodded, even though I was still scared. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll go." He took both of my hands, and the view got brighter. The heavenly flags waved like a promise. "Tell them, Michelle," he said. "Tell them that my love is stronger than their hate, and that forgiveness is the way home." His love poured into me like water, into a dry well. I didn't want to leave him, but I knew I had a job to do, to spread his words to a world that was hurting. The light went out, and I was thrown back into my body like a wave crashing on the beach. 1 second, I was standing with Jesus, feeling his love wrap around me. The next, I was in a hospital bed, gasping for air, the machines beeping, breaking the silence. My chest hurt, and my arms and legs felt heavy, like I was wearing a suit of lead. I blinked against the bright fluorescent lights at Columbus Medical Center, and the smell of antiseptic made my nose hurt. My throat was dry, and when I tried to move, pain shot through me, reminding me of the bullets that had gone through my body 5 days before. I was alive, but I missed him so much. You know that feeling when you wake up from a dream that was so beautiful you want to go back to sleep? That was me, lying there, wishing for the peace of being with him. For a short time, I was sad. I felt so complete with Jesus, like he had fixed every broken part of me. Now I was back in a world full of pain, fear, and division. But his words rang in my heart. "Tell them, Michelle. When people stop hating each other, the violence stops, and when people forgive each other, the hatred stops." I shut my eyes and imagined his face, with his eyes full of love and need. He had promised to be with me, so I wasn't alone. That gave me the strength to open my eyes and take this second chance. The first thing I noticed was that I saw things in a new way. It was like a painting I had only half understood before. The world felt both fragile and valuable. I thought about my family, Mark, Tyler, Rachel, and my mom, and I felt bad for all the times I had let hurt build walls between us. I knew I had to start with my own heart because Jesus had shown me that not forgiving others was the cause of so much pain. I didn't want to spend another day being angry or scared. I called Tyler when I felt strong enough to do so. My hands shook as I dialed the number, remembering how far apart we had grown since the miscarriage. "Mom," he said, his voice shaky. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm sorry for pulling away, Tyler. I love you, and I want us to be close again." After a long pause, he said, "Mom, I've missed you." We talked for an hour, really talked, about his time in the military, my classroom, and the pain we had both been through. I told him about what I had been through, how much I loved Jesus, and how I wanted to change my life. He said he would come, and when we hung up, I felt like I had taken the first step toward healing. After that, I called Mark. It wasn't easy. Our divorce left a lot of scars after 4 years of silence. I wrote him a letter, but my handwriting was shaky because I was in the hospital. Mark, I'm sorry I stayed angry after we lost the baby. I forgive you, and I hope you can forgive me too. For Tyler's sake and our own, I want us to find peace. A week later, he went to the hospital. We didn't fix everything, but we did talk, really talk, for the first time in years. He said he was wrong to blame me, and I saw the man I used to love, who was still hurting. It wasn't about getting back together. It was about letting go of the anger that had kept us apart. Rachel was more difficult. Our arguments about gun control had turned into a cold war. But what Jesus said about forgiveness stayed with me. I drove to her house with my heart racing and knocked. Her face was guarded when she opened the door. I said, "Rachel, I don't want to fight anymore. I love you, and I'm sorry that our differences got in the way." She looked at me, then cried and hugged me. We sat on her porch and drank coffee like we used to. We talked about everything, from guns to politics to our childhoods. We didn't agree, but we heard each other out. I saw her heart for the first time, not just her opinions. I felt Jesus' love leading me to choose her over being right. My mom was the hardest. Even though she had dementia and didn't know me, I still brought her sunflowers to her assisted living home. I held her hand, told her stories about my students, and sang her favorite hymn. She smiled, even though she didn't get it. And I realized that it wasn't about her remembering me. It was about me being there for her and loving her without expecting anything in return. You know that moment when you realize that love doesn't have to be returned to be real? I was sitting there, feeling Jesus' love flow through me to her. I saw my classroom at the high school in a new way. I used to put everything I had into teaching, even if it meant hurting my family, my health, or my faith. I now understood that relationships were more important than work and that love was stronger than any lesson plan. I started the Forgiveness First program to teach kids like Emma how to settle fights with kindness instead of anger. We did art therapy with the kids, letting them paint how they felt, storms, rainbows, or anything else that came to mind. One day, Emma showed me a new painting of a sunrise over still water. She smiled and said, "This is how I feel now." I hugged her, my heart full, because I knew that Jesus was working through us. I also started to see the shooters in a new light, not as monsters, but as hurt kids who had never learned how to forgive. I contacted the family of the young man who shot me through a counselor and offered them my forgiveness and help. It wasn't easy, but I remembered when Jesus showed me his heart, which was dark with pain, and I wanted them to know there was hope. I started a group for families who have been affected by school violence, both the victims and the people who did it, that focuses on healing through love. We told each other stories, cried, and prayed for peace. "No one has ever cared about us before," said one mother whose son had been a shooter. I told her, "Jesus cares. He sees you," and held her hand. Having an eternal point of view changed everything. I used to worry about whether my work was important, safety drills, or budgets. Now I knew that every act of love and every moment of forgiveness was a piece of Jesus' light, pushing back the darkness. I spoke at churches all over Ohio about what Jesus taught me, that school shootings weren't just about guns or laws, but about hearts that were hard because they didn't forgive. I told them what he told me. The violence stops when the hatred stops, and the hatred stops when you forgive. I saw people listen, some of them crying and some of them nodding. I felt his presence in every word. I realized I'm part of something bigger now. I teach art, but I'm also Jesus' messenger, showing his love to a world that needs it. I still have bad days, like when the news reports another shooting or my mom forgets my name again. But I know he's with me, helping me pick love over fear and forgiveness over anger. I can see the hearts of my students, my family, and even strangers, just like I could in that heavenly place. I can see their pain and their hope, and I know that Jesus loves them all and wants them to forgive and heal. You might have felt the pain of holding on to hurt or the fear that the world is too broken to fix if you're reading this. I've been there. But I'm here to tell you what Jesus told me. His love is stronger than hate, and the only way to get home is to forgive. You don't have to be perfect. Just take one step. Let go of someone who hurt you. Love someone who thinks they aren't seen. When it's easier to be angry, be kind. Every time you choose to love, you win. Love is a light that pushes back the dark. Jesus sees you, loves you, and wants you to help heal America, one heart at a time. As we wrap up, we'd love for you to subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're joining from. Each message is a beautiful reminder that none of us walk this path by ourselves. God's love connects us, and this community lifts one another in prayer. We're so grateful to call you family.